Hello, friends! I know that I have done a lot of cool tricks and experiments over the last, couple months that we've been at home doing Kids Church at Home. And so I know some of you guys have been wondering, how does she do that? Well, this week I'm going to share with you the trick that I used so that you can also use it to be able to share the truth about God and the gospel and Jesus with other people if you want. So all you'll need to do the trick that I did Sunday is a new box of crayons and a knife. You'll probably need Mom or Dad's help with this one. I'm going to use a big sharp knife. You could use any kind of sharp knife, but again, probably want a grown-up's help. And then glue. So it can be just regular like glue that you might normally use. I'm going to go ahead and use a hot glue gun. It really doesn't matter as long as you have glue. So those are the supplies. I'm going to change the camera so that you guys can see what I'm doing, and then I'll show you how to do it. All right, so the first thing we have to do is take out our crayons, just like that. There we go. So these are mostly new crayons. I found this box at home, or that I just already had. But so the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to line them all up so that they look all nice and neat and new. And put this one on the end so that it's a little bit more hidden. And we are going to cut them. Now the point is that you want to cut them so that they're not going to be able to be seen. So I'm going to cut out a little hole here so that it doesn't look like the pretend crayons, that you can see directly into it. Some boxes of crayons already come with that little hole already cut out. Mine did not, so I'm going to have to cut that out. But I don't want my cut crayons to be able to be seen through the hole, so I think I'm going to go ahead and cut them right about here.
Gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love.
So now that I have all my crayons cut, I am going to take a glue gun and I'm going to glue them together.
Return to the Lord, He is gracious and merciful. Return to the Lord, He is gracious and merciful.
Get off any glue that I can see.
Slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. Slow to anger.
All right, so now that we have our cut crayons, or our cut and glued together crayons, and we have our box that has an open slit there, so here's how you do this trick. You're going to want to, I found that it was a whole lot easier if I glued the back of the bottom part on the outside so that way the crayons don't get stuck on anything on the inside. And I also found that it moved easier if I kind of did this and stretched out the box a little bit as well. So once you've got that, then you put your crayons, your glued together crayons, right in the box. And so since they're short, then you just let them fall all the way to the bottom. And it looks like an empty box. You can't see them. And because you've got 7 or 8 crayons, I ended up going with 7 crayons because it moved a little bit easier. I found that when I had 8 crayons, because I put so much hot glue in between, it kind of got stuck. So I ended up taking a crayon off. But since you've got 7 or 8 crayons in there, and they're short, you don't end up seeing them at all. So then the way that you do this trick is that you go ahead and close the top And if you happen to see them, like when you're looking like this, then you just got to take them out and just trim them a little bit more, and that's okay. And so when you flip them upside down, here I'll do it this way so you can see. So when you flip them upside down, then gravity just takes the crayons and puts them there. And so then you just kind of hold them gently in the center so that when you, I'm trying to figure out how to do that, but there you go. So that then as long as you're holding them in the center, it looks like some of mine kind of came unglued. But when you're holding it in the center, then it totally looks like it's a brand new set of crayons and you've got all the crayons in there again. And so then to get it to go back down, then all you have to do is just kind of release your fingers. But of course you don't want to do that in front of everybody where they can see the window and watch the crayons going back down. So you have to add some like magic and kind of go in front of it while you release. So you go over like that, you hold it and go, and all of a sudden it's gone. So that's how you do this trick, and to be able to get it back, like I say, just up and hold it, and there you go. So when we're talking about, so as we're telling the story, as we're sharing about Jesus, we're using this to share about the gospel, and you start with an empty, and you say, in the beginning there was nothing, there was only God, and then God created everything. And so as you're doing this, then you get to turn it over, and as He created everything, and bam. And so you can kind of practice the timing because it does make a little bit of a sound when they fall. So you might want to add some special effects like, and bam, so that way it gets harder to know, or somebody else doesn't hear the crayons go down as much because you're using your voice to kind of cover it up. You can figure that out however you want to do it. But so there was nothing, and then God created everything, and suddenly everything was perfect and beautiful. And you got to be careful if you don't use all the crayons. I had to practice this a couple times before I recorded it. So everything was perfect and wonderful and exactly the way that it should be. And it looks like you've got your perfect, wonderful, exactly the way it should be crayons. See that? But then Adam and Eve sinned, and when they sinned, sin entered the world, and oh no, it destroyed God's perfect world. And everything began to break. So then you can talk about how everything was broken, but that God had a plan, and He knew what was going to happen. And so He chose to send Jesus to come and die for our sins, to live the perfect life that we couldn't live, so that when He died, He defeated sin and death. And when you're talking about when He defeated sin and death to make all things right again, and that's when you want to go ahead and turn it back over, the crayons fall back up, and He restored everything. And He's working right now to restore everything to the way it was. And one day He'll come back, and He'll make everything all brand new. So that is how you use Box of Crayons and a little bit of magic to be able to share the truth about Jesus.